Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy Father's Day, dads. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to my guest again. He's coming back I didn't run him off for part two of, his part two of the Delphi Vault. So let's say hello to Quester. Hi, Quester.
Hi, Amy. Hi, everyone. Good to be back.
We've been very busy, guys, this whole week. And hopefully tonight we're going to talk about some new things, not just dredging over what we already know, but hopefully a little bit more informative information and probably adding to the list of reasons why you just cannot trust Carroll County. Prosecutor, law enforcement, all of them. So let me say hello to everybody in the chat. Welcome, Cryptex. How are you? Crime Junkie, Tom, Lacey, Candy, Mary, RC99, welcome. Free Ricky Bay, I know who you are. I just text you back. Weircat, hello. Mysteries with Mr. Bell. Oh my goodness, how are you doing, Jerome? I have good news for you, by the way. As of yesterday, my Dropbox is getting a revamping, and hopefully I will be able to get everything over to you ASAP. I actually have somebody who is a little bit more technical savvy than I am organizing all of that. Hello, Michelle. Fig, Elizabeth Park, unindicted co-conspirator. Are you guys ready for this Karen Reed verdict to come in? You think it's going to be a not guilty after Alan Jackson's closing argument? Put a 1 in the chat if you think it's going to be a not guilty. Put a 2 if you think she's going to be found guilty or guilty with a lesser included. Hello, Royal Wee. Doxy Mom, if I've missed anybody, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say a big blanket of hellos to all of you guys. So before we get started, Quester, would you like to tell them about our week that we've had a little bit? Just some of the things that we've been kicking around behind the scenes?
Oh, it's been pretty busy, hasn't it?
It has been.
Yeah. It started off, he says. We were just going to go over the timelines, how things fitted in or didn't fit, whatever the case may be. But we got sidetracked into a few other things, didn't we?
We did.
More about this camera has come out, which is quite surprising. More about the phone. It's getting quite, shall I say, interesting, isn't it?
It sure is. And we were just discussing backstage before we came on. I was saying that it's very apparent at this point why the state is not releasing more exhibits. And I feel that it's because they don't want people like all of us in this community scrutinizing things that they thought they had pulled the wool over everyone else's eyes. And I think I think the more we dig, the more clearer that's going to be. So yes, thank you, Anders. Everybody hit that thumbs up for me, please. Share the video. This is part 10 of this Vault episode. I can't believe that we've come in I think 2 months, we've done 10 episodes. I did start to release some of the presentations from these episodes in my Facebook group. You do have to answer the questions to join the group. If I apologize, but if your Facebook account looks fictitious, I have very strict admins who will do their research, and they won't. I don't want drama in there. My group is for information, free discussion, but information. And I've dropped the link for the Facebook group at the very top of the chat. So if you want to grab that and you're not a member, you have to request to be a member. I cannot upload the PowerPoint presentations on my community page on YouTube. It just doesn't, it's not formatted, or I can't figure it out. That's probably a better way to say it. I can't figure it out. So we are going to get started, and do me a favor, guys. If you have a question, please put a question mark in front of your question. I'm going to try to do better answering more questions. We get so caught up in the conversation that sometimes I miss. So I'm going to try to be mindful of that so I can answer all the questions that you guys have. And Quester, if you see any questions that you want to answer, you feel free to just tell me to shut my yap and answer you can answer whatever you want. I'm a talker.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yes, you do. Anders, you do have to pay to get the exhibits. We did all pay. They actually are the ones who set the price for the exhibits. They charged $25 for, I believe it was a 128 megabyte or gig, whatever it was. It was a USB, $25 to get. So going into it, we all thought we were going to get all of the exhibits except for the exhibits that were sealed, which would have been the crime scene photos. That is not what we got. And they made it very difficult to go through the process because, number one, the court never made available an accurate list of exhibits that was presented at trial. We had to rely on basically piecemealing recaps from other people who were in the courtroom. And they did a really good job of, for the most part, getting all of the exhibits listed and numbered, but there were some that they missed. And basically the court wasn't going to, when we sent in our requests, they weren't willing to come out and say, okay, well, here's the list of exhibits. The sealed ones are off the tables. Which ones do you want? Here they all are. No, they wanted us to kind of scavenge around to get the exhibits and submit it. And then we all submitted different things, but we all got the same thing, basically. So, and I think maybe today you guys won't feel like some of this stuff is that big of a deal. I personally do. I'm doing good, Jerome. The FBI, I don't believe that the FBI has any of the exhibits. All of the exhibits are with the clerk of courts. And so it's going to be up to Carroll County to release them. And I have a feeling that that's not going to happen anytime soon. Hi, Tammy. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to kick it off today with a couple of short little validations that Quester came across this week. Let me wait a minute. On the wrong one here. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we're going to start off today with a little validation. Now, Quester, I think that you said that you found this, you said it was dusty. You'd had it for a long time. Yes?
No, that's not one of mine.
Wait. The one on the left. The one on the left. Well, either way, it's very interesting. So this was a post. This was made a while ago. This was not anything that's been recent, especially not since Sergio came on and did his analysis of Kelsey. And the reason I believe this is mega important is because of what this post discusses. It says, and I have to give credit because this is actually discussing another channel, R&M, and some other YouTube creators that I respect. But this says, sharing some of the mind-blowing things in the Paul Mannion's previously part of the Unraveling video on his newly named channel, The Domain. So I haven't even went to look and see if that channel is available. It's called The Domain. Check it out, see if it's there. And then they said they'll post the link to the video at the end, which I didn't have that attached. If you skip through all the rants about Yellow Jacket, Mothman, etc., he shared new info that was shared by Matt Hoffman. Matt Hoffman is one of the defense private investigators. The investigator for the defense, Paul said, shared these things with Yellow Jacket and Mothman, claiming that Kelsey and Libby were screaming at each other in the Mirrors parking lot, according to a third-party witness. Claims the story from the Patties about the girls eating pancakes the morning of February 13th is a lie based on stomach contents. Claims Libby was not nearly decapitated. No, she was not. She had 2 shallow cuts to one side of her neck and 1 deep cut to the other side, which severed the carotid artery, causing massive hemorrhaging. Claims Libby had a female friend named T, who she talked to and texted all of the time, day and night. So the reason I thought this was significant was because the analysis that Sergio did about Kelsey, he said she showed clear signs that there was something off with her and Libby that day, that something may have been transpiring in the car. And, if Kelsey was not wanting Libby to go to the trails to meet someone that day, I then immediately in my brain went to the images of Abby and Libby in the car when we were all expecting photographs of them smiling and cheesing it up because they were supposed to be singing and having a good time with the windows down. And that the picture that we have of them, Abby looks absolutely ticked off or maybe stressed out. Was there an argument taking place? And if that is true, and there was a third-party witness, who was it? Why were we never informed at trial about this? And why did they not testify? If this information is true. If it's not, it's not. But if it is true and it's being shared by Matt Hoffman, the defense's private investigator, then why shouldn't we believe it? So, do you have any do you have any opinion about that, Quester, as far as had you ever heard of that before?
I had heard rumours that they'd had arguments, and as you say, that one picture certainly looked as if Abby is not best pleased with something that's going on in the car. So I tend to believe that one.
Yeah, it makes sense, and so I sent this to Sergio, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" And this was I had never personally heard this rumor, so it hit me like a ton of bricks when I seen this, because I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Because this ultimately validates the analysis that Sergio did, and his his expertise is verbiage and understanding the dynamics of like pretty much the English language and how it's used in a sentence, and how people use it when they're concealing information or they're trying to hide certain memories or emotions. And I just found that was very compelling. And he was pretty shocked when I sent it to him. So he's been doing some Karen Reed stuff. So he's going to be getting caught back up with the second part of the analysis of Kelsey. He did. I can't remember if he shared this publicly with you guys or not, but I know that he did tell me it takes him about 40 hours to do just one analysis, sitting and analyzing and going over word for word for word.
There's another important piece in there about the eating pancakes and the stomach contents.
Mm-hmm.
And pancakes, they were banana, if I remember rightly.
Yes, they supposedly made banana pancakes.
Right. main constituents of banana pancakes, obviously eggs and fruit. Both of those would go through your stomach in less than 30 minutes. The report said that they tried to work out when the girls died by stomach contents, and they said that they'd eaten a meal between 2 to 4 hours prior to their demise. Well, that can't be those pancakes, can it?
I wouldn't think so.
The pancake would only be in the stomach if their demise was less than 30 minutes after eating those pancakes.
And I believe the latest, I think the latest time that I tracked down that they were supposedly fed pancakes was about 11 o'clock in the morning. It could have been earlier. So we're
Yes,
already at the over 3-hour mark from that time, if you believe the state, and that the girls met their demise about 2:32, which I don't believe that at all. So
well,
um,
if those pancakes were still in their stomach, they met their demise between 10 and 11 in the morning. The only time to be in there 2 to 4 hours before death, it would have to be something substantial like red meat, fish, something like that. And as I recall, Kelsey made quite clear that those pancakes were their last meal.
together, yeah.
So there's a massive discrepancy here.
Mm-hmm.
How could they have something in their stomach when they were found? Unless, of course, they had a meal while they were laying in the field somehow. It's impossible.
Well,
But the stomach content,
and I think that's why they were never even able to determine a time of death. And it doesn't seem. I just don't feel like the state really wanted to focus on that either. They didn't want to pinpoint exactly, because the odds are it didn't line up with their timeline anyway. Just like a lot of things they didn't pursue because it didn't match their timeline.
the stomach
And
contents don't line up, even get close to lining up with their timeline.
next up, we're going to take a quick listen to Rick Allen's interrogation video, and listen to where he talks about where he parked. Hopefully I got it timed up right.
Okay. Any other vocational training or? Okay. Well, I was in the military, but.
And of course it didn't say where I put it.
Bridge, the trail side of the bridge. Okay. So down at. You went this way. I think you went down this way and. Like it was an underpass or something. Yep, that's right. And then there's a building right there. You can see it. Okay. So it would either been there or there. Okay. All right. Very good.
So he was just describing where he parked. And this is somebody else's diagram. I don't know who made this, but I'm going to give them credit for it, because this is exactly where I thought he was talking about. There's a house. He talks about going here. I'll just read it. This is where did you, Mullen asks, where did you park? RA, there is a house in a lane. It wasn't used. There was a place to park there. I parked on the building side of this, is what I'm saying. He showed them where he parked using a paper map. He said he was familiar with the trail and the bridge. We visit the trail regularly in the summer. In his police interview, Richard Allen said, there is a house and a lane. On the building side of this is what I'm saying. He then showed them where he parked using a paper map. This building cannot be seen from the air 2D view on Google Earth, at least on an Android version. It is gone. However, if you go into Street View and drop the little man just to the northwest of the parking lot, then turn to the southeast, it is still there. As the street view there has not been updated, it is now a parking lot for people seeking to cross Freedom Bridge to access the trails. So when you look at this bottom picture here and you see the two green circles. In between on this County Road 25, there's an old bridge here that's not, it's you just like, it's like a Valdock. You just drive under it. He said he goes under the bridge and he either parked here or here. And then he talks about this this lane here and this road that goes up to a house, and that there's supposedly a building back in there. So I'm guessing that back then people would park over here on this side as well, even though it really wasn't a designated parking lot. But it matches exactly with what Rick Allen is saying. Then they continue in his interrogation to conveniently try to steer him back over to the CPS building. So there's that little validation that I thought was a nice little, backup of what Rick was saying, because here lately I've been seeing, the guilters in this case pointing out, well, he said he parked at the CPS and he walked along the road. Well, you know what? He would have done the same thing if he would have drove underneath this bridge and he would have parked here or here. He would have had to have walked along this road to get up to the trail, to cross this small bridge, and then to eventually cross Freedom Bridge to make it to the main trailhead. So, Quester, do you, I don't know if do you use Google Earth?
I do. The one thing I should point out is that you won't find that building there now. It has been demolished.
Okay. So this was this diagram then was made a while back then.
Yes, it was. When I first saw it, I did look and I did see that building, but that was 2018, I think.
Mm-hmm. So about a year. You now say that again. The building was demolished in 2018.
It's got to have been way back then because I couldn't find it back then. So obviously these pictures existed way back, even before his interrogation.
Right, they would have.
Obviously, the map must have been added later. You can't see a building on it.
Yeah, I
But that
think
photograph of the house has got to be an old one.
Yeah, Candy. I know the Google Street View. I know that you can put in. That's one thing that I've need to brush my skills up on, is the Google Earth stuff. I'm getting better at it, but I still have trouble mapping certain things out, and especially out there by the bridge area that you can't get any street view at all. So I've never attempted to do a street view out here by 25 or Freedom Bridge, but I will try that. I'll probably work on that this week. So next up, let's see where we're going next. So last week we talked about the Hoosier Harvester camera and the type of camera it was, and how the imagery from this camera would struggle with any kind of a view from that far away. And Quester broke down all of the dynamics of the phone. If it's a typical turret camera, it can see up to about 70 to 80 feet during daylight, but that reduces at night to about 50 to 60 feet. A basic security camera can typically read a vehicle license plate up to 20 to 30 feet away. However, to reliably capture a license plate, you would require a specialized license plate reader camera, which can read a plate from up to 100 feet away. So we know that in the imagery that we have from the exhibits that we're not getting a license plate picture captured. The lens specification is important. This, of course, will depend upon the particular camera's specifications, weather, and local lighting, because most turret cameras have a fixed lens which limits their viewing distance. These kinds of cameras are used mainly to monitor entry points and smaller areas like doorways and lobbies. So let me see, we're going to go here next. So we know based on the trial testimony, court documents, that the Hoosier Harvester video was collected by the FBI with an affidavit from FBI Special Agent Jeff Robertson with collection paperwork that was generated when the video was collected. Now, do you guys in chat, I should have really made this a poll question. Do you guys in chat, how many, let's just do this. How many cameras do you guys believe the Hoosier Harvester had? Put your quote, put your number quote in the chat. How many cameras did the Hoosier Harvester camera have? Well, EOA didn't get into what we're going to get into. Although EOA is absolutely correct. And we talked about this camera footage last Monday before EOA's video came out in regards to the distortion of the view of the camera. Now let's watch this. Hi, hey, how are you? We're going to watch this clip. Maybe.
Was mentioned over and over again, the Hoosier Harvester.
We start here at Hoosier Harvester.
Standing in front of this Hoosier Harvester, you can see one camera there above my shoulder. It captured, of course, multiple people driving on this road. The trail, the entrance to the trail is actually not far down this road, right across from Mears Farm.
It's on County Road 300 North in between the two entrances to the Monon High Bridge Trail. Video from this store is mentioned multiple times in the docs. Police say they saw a car resembling Richard Allen's drive past it 1:27 p.m. the day the girls went missing. Now to the Freedom Bridge, part of the Monon High Bridge Trail passing over State Road 25. It's on the opposite end of the trail from the Monon High Bridge and near where court docs say Richard Allen said he parked his car on February 13th, 2017.
Video at Hoosier Harvester, including interviews and electronic records. They believe Abby and Libby were dropped off across from Mears Farm at 1:49 p.m. Now, of course, the Mears Farm we mentioned, not just near the entrance to the trails. Investigators say they spoke with a woman who said she was on the trail that day, February 13th, back in 2017. Now, video from this Hoosier Harvester captured her vehicle at 1:46, traveling toward the entrance, again, across from Mears Farm. Now, she told it.
So I paused it here, and I have this image screenshot. I was going to talk about it later, but since we're here, I'm going to talk about it right now. Let me.
Investigators.
Okay, so this to me is one of the best images overview of the Mears Farm. You can see clearly, not quite directly across the street from the farm, but you can see the Mears lot parking entrance on the other side of the road, and you can see the faint gravel path leading from the Mears lot up to the trail where the girls would have walked and then turned left to walk out to the bridge. But let's go back and remember how many vehicles we've discussed over the course of these episodes that were parked at this trailhead based on Cheyenne's testimony, based on Derek German's testimony, Becky Patty's, We know Mike, there was so many cars there. Mike Patty, I believe, said he had to park across the street. You've got Tara German there. You have Tara German's partner there. So all of these vehicles, you've got all of these people out that Sarah Carball claims she drove past. And lo and behold, look at her course of travel. Straight out, going west on 300. Look at the landscape. What, I mean, where is Muddy Bloody Guy walking to? I mean, he's supposed to be walking. Hey, Cherie, you want a link? I thought you would be on with Rhonda today. But where would Muddy Bloody Guy be if he's right out here in the open, walking right up to the people parked at Mears? And we don't see him on the Hoosier Harvester camera. Why? I mean, this is really not a believable story. And the only thing that aligns with what Sarah Carball is saying is, Quester, do you want to tell the story about Dan McCain again? Quester, you're muted.
Sorry about that. The story goes that Dan McCain was in the cemetery. He got there via his 10-speed not motorcycle, bicycle, and as he was leaving, he fell off and hurt himself rather badly. There is a photograph of him in a meeting shortly after, where his leg is extremely well bandaged up, but there's still blood absolutely pouring through it. So it seemed a genuine story. If he'd have come out of the cemetery, he'd have been in the right place, probably at the right time, for Sarah to have seen him. Where did he go to? Well, at that time, a couple of minutes after Sarah went by, his brother, David, left the Mears lot. Now, had he turned right, he could have picked up Dan and taken him home. And that would be a very simple, easy answer for where Muddy Bloody Man went. Just an innocent man fell off his bicycle.
Which, yeah, absolutely. Which then, why would David McCain never suggest this to law enforcement? I mean, he testified at trial and he said, well, you know, my brother fell off of his bike and I picked him up right about the area that Sarah Carball saw this individual. And she said the blood was down on his lower pants legs, which I did. I believe it's in, I'm not sure which episode it is, but I did show everyone the photograph of Dan McCain sitting in that meeting with his leg bandaged up. And there is blood coming through the bandage. So it had to be a significant wound. And I'm sure at that, I mean, and if he fell, she said it looked like the man had fallen down a hill. So
it all fits, doesn't it?
It does. And Christina, I don't know if I've ever heard that Rick said that he passed Dan McCain that day.
Rick, as far as I know, never said anything like that, no. As I recall, he didn't see anybody, is what he said.
Yeah, he
apart
said,
from girls up the top.
She's saying Dan, not David. Well, I don't know that Dan, I don't know if it was ever reported that Dan was actually on the trail. We know Dave was, but I'm not sure about Dan actually being out on the trail. But I'm sure as we keep digging, like really digging and make, you know, hindsight's 2020. And I know everybody's been over this stuff with a fine tooth comb, but we know a heck of a lot more now than what we knew 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 years ago. And we know now what we can absolutely discredit. And we also know what was never exhausted as far as an investigation goes, which that makes this a little bit more easier now. And Christina said it's in the interview. I'll have to go back and listen. I thought he was talking about Dave. Yes, Dan McCain Dan McCain supposedly fell off of his bike and hurt himself. And we can only assume that his brother picked him up. Otherwise, where did he go? I don't believe that he walked down to the Mears farm and approached anyone like, hey, I need some help. I just fell off my bike. No one at Mears Lot ever reported such an event or an individual. The only one who saw him supposedly was Sarah Carball. But he had to go somewhere.
Well, a man of his age with a wound like that would not be walking very far.
No. So let me see here. Pull this off. Okay, so let's finish watching the video.
As she was driving on her way to park, she saw no other cars across from the Mears farm. Now, video also captured her vehicle leaving at 2:14 p.m. She told investigators when she was leaving, she saw a car parked at the old Child Protective Services building. Now, another person told investigators he saw a purple PT Cruiser, or what he thought was a small SUV type vehicle, parked at that same building. Now, video from Hoosier Harvester also captured a vehicle that investigators say resembled Richard Allen's Ford Focus at 1:27 p.m. His vehicle was traveling west in front of this store. Now, Allen has always told investigators that he arrived at the trails around 1:30 p.m. and that he was on the trail that February day.
Well, right there is where Muddy Bloody Guy would have been approaching the Mears lot had he made it down that far. So now we're going to get into some new things. So this, for a very long time, is the camera that, and maybe people in chat will disagree with me, but at face value, this camera here on the front of the Hoosier Harvester building was the camera that not only media, but most of us thought was the camera that captured the vehicles on 300. I do not believe we were ever told during the trial by Mullins that there were two cameras. We were never told which camera took the photographs. We were never told if one camera was working and one camera wasn't. That whole concept was omitted. And I've gone back through Andrea Burkhart's transcripts, and if I'm wrong, somebody correct me. But we do know the visibility. Let me see which ones are coming next. We have this one, and that one. Okay. So based on Quester, I'm going to let you take it from here on the camera. Based on what we discussed last week about this camera's view, do you want to get in? I'll let you explain why the location of the camera matters. Based on this camera's view on its own.
Well, first of all, that view there is a straight line to the road. You'd have to then move it round to where the picture of the car is, which would add about another 15 feet. So we're talking a lot further than that one says. However, that isn't the camera, is it?
No, it's not.
No. On the side, the west side, about halfway down, there's a door entrance. There it is. And just past there, there's another camera mounted. Now, if you look at the picture to the bottom right, it's arrowed where that camera is. And you can see across the car park the angle of a photo that it would take if it was taking a photograph. Exactly like the one bottom left. It is impossible for the camera on the south of the building to have taken that photograph. It was taken by the one on the side. And we've never been told that. Sorry?
And then what does that do to the capability of the distance the camera is actually able to capture as far as clarity and distortion?
Well, you're adding another 40 plus feet to the distance. So you're now talking that the camera was taking pictures at twice its workable range. I'm surprised it captured anything.
Well, and that's why on these images here, so the one image on the left is an unedited zoomed picture that the Hoosier Harvester timestamped at 2:21:37. Now, I am still looking, trying to find exactly where and when the defense agreed to stipulate to the time of the camera being inaccurately time-stamped. I'm wanting to find out because at trial, these exhibits were time-stamped by the state, and I just want to clarify when it was the defense said, yes, we agree with the state and we will allow them to, add their own timestamps on these photos. But if you look at these images, one is the unedited version. The one on the right was what the jurors were actually shown. The one on the left is what they should have been shown. But this one on the right is an edited version. And I hope I can explain this so that it makes sense. So look at the image that's unedited on the left-hand side. I took an arrow bar and I put it on the hood of this vehicle. So you could see the stretch of the front of the vehicle, which is supposed to be an unedited photograph. Then I copied that same arrow, the same length, and transitioned it over to the other image that was edited, and look at the difference in the length of the car in that image. So if I was live in my PowerPoint, which I'm not, I could actually show you how I did that. I could just basically take this arrow over here on the right-hand side, copy it, pull it over here to the left, right underneath this, and you'll see that they're the exact same length. So either the image on the left was edited and extremely stretched, or it's in its natural state. And the image on the right that does show that it was as it edited was basically condensed. shortened. It was compacted. And clearly there was lighting adjustments done to that photograph as well.
And as you know, there is a whole backstory to this photograph that makes it even more suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Do you want me to keep going? Want me to switch slides?
no, I can explain with this one.
Okay.
Right. Now, Mullin in trial said that he didn't go and look for this Richard Allen's car until the 21st of September 2022. Remember that date? This picture is supposed to have been taken in 2017, 5 years prior. And we know that in 2017, the FBI extracted the data. But Mullin did not go to that data. He said in trial, he went back to the Harvest store to get it from them. A little bit of background on security cameras. Majority of them are internet protocol cameras, which means they do not require a local recording device like a recording system on a PC. If the intent is to be able to use it for court, then the camera should be synchronized to what was called the NTP, a network time protocol. However, small companies very rarely do that. Laziness, not knowing they should do it, and so on and so forth. Large operators prefer to control and save their own computer systems to preclude hacking and so on. However, the fact that Mullin said he went to the Harvest store to get this picture says that it's on a computer there. He also made clear he did not download the picture. He photographed it off the computer. Now, these cameras and systems, unless they're linked to something like the cloud or an external server, usually they keep the data for about up to 90 days, not 5 years. So really, I would have expected all that data to have been gone off that computer 5 years before he found that photograph. Yet there it is, sitting there waiting for him, the very picture he wants, and he takes a photograph of it. He doesn't download it, he photographs it and leaves, and then comes back to edit that. Now,
and another thing too is why are we 5 years later supposed to believe that even after the 2019 press conference where, the new direction, they're wanting to speak to the driver of a car at the CPS. They never once ask, we are looking for the owner of a dark colored SUV or crossover vehicle that we haven't been able to identify on the Hoosier Harvester camera footage that we have. They never asked for this vehicle. They only asked for a vehicle that was seen parked. Now, they're relying on a witness about seeing that vehicle parked when in fact they should have had the actual footage, concrete evidence of this vehicle. Why weren't they asking for this vehicle to be identified? That's all. I just wanted to add that in there.
Very good question. Why? They didn't ask about it or didn't mention it till 2022.
Right. So that, I mean, that's, and I don't know. I mean, every court system's a little different. And if Michael's still listening, Michael might be able to ask, but I would have expected that Jeff Robertson, the FBI agent who actually collected the footage, would have been the individual who was called to testify about the collection of the footage. I don't understand why that wasn't required in as far as the chain of custody of evidence. maybe they don't require that, but in the fact that we don't have the video, we're only being shown still images. For me, that should have been a huge argument made by the defense. You know, if we have the actual footage, why can't we just play it? Why are we relying on the state to dissect the footage, timestamp it the way that they claim the time on the clock, in their opinion, is set? I mean, I feel like, you know, any type of concrete validation and so many aspects of this case were just completely overlooked and allowed not to come in. And to a degree, I have to hold the defense team responsible for that, because there's arguments here that were not made that should have been made. Not that they would have won, and that would even be more issues on the direct appeal to argue, but they should have been argued.
Well, if I can just hop in here and slightly defend the defence counsel, they did make an application to Gull requesting to be able to interview this person via video, because they had asked the FBI, and the FBI said he was a long way away, he wasn't well, and he couldn't do a flight, and he couldn't do the travelling and so on. So they asked Gull.
I don't know if that was the same FBI agent.
No,
that was
but the point is, Gull refused that, and she also refused the defence any ability to how can I put it, impugn a police witness. Now, all of this would have been impugning Mullin. So they were sort of hogtied from several directions.
Yeah, they were.
And one has to ask why. What would be the problem? If those are genuine pictures, what is the problem with someone coming in and saying, yes, I got them, they're genuine, thank you very much, goodbye? What's the problem? Why did they block it out?
And why has this never been? I mean, why are we only being shown footage from one camera and not the other? And why are two cameras never even discussed? They completely omit the fact. I mean, if the camera on the front of the building wasn't working, say that. Just say that. Well, that, you know, the Hoosier Harvester building had two cameras, only one was working. But we don't hear anything about two cameras. We're just handed these photographs and just told that these photographs came from the Hoosier Harvester camera, as in singular, not plural. And where is the footage from the front camera? If that camera, I would have to lean towards the fact that that camera was in working condition. Otherwise, it would have been a very simple statement and never questioned again. So where is that footage? Where are those still shots from that footage, when we know that even that camera on the front of the building, the camera is already taking pictures 35 feet over its regular use, its regular capacity. Now we're back here on the side of the building, and we know those cameras, or that camera, took the photos that are displayed in the exhibits, because you can see the parking lot and you can see the field. So now we're going to get into something that might be a little controversial. So I was going back through this week, going over some old court TV things, mainly because I really want to just pick the hell out of Barbara McDonald's brain for multiple reasons. And I'll just go into that just really quick. We know that when the Franks motion came out, Barbara McDonald knew exactly how the sticks had been displayed on the girls. She made drawings on court TV to show the public how the sticks had been described to her by law enforcement. Therefore, we know back in 2017, Barbara McDonald was in communication with law enforcement investigating this case. She was in Delphi. They were recording their Down the Hill podcast. She went around, spoke to a lot of different people involved in the case, investigating the case, etc. I have her again in another court TV stream claiming law enforcement told her that they had to go back several days later and secure the scene to retrieve the bullet. That, to me, she needs to come forward and say who told her that. When we are watching Jerry Holman pound the table and telling Rick the bullet was right there next to Libby's foot. And I'm not saying the bullet, the shell casing, the unspent bullet wasn't there. What I'm saying is if they went back multiple days later and found the shell casing or the unspent round, and they had over 300 crime scene photo images, they could have said, okay, well, we found the bullet here. Let's go through these photos and figure out where it would have been laying. I'm not saying the killer didn't have a gun and that I don't believe the bullet is associated with this case, but I'm also not saying that if they went back 3 days later, 4 days later and secured the crime scene and they found it where they told Rick Allen they found it, why lie about it? Why are we lying about it? It's nefarious. It questions their credibility. They could have went back through those photos and said, okay, well, I believe. So, I mean, I want to see those photos. That's why these photos should be public. And we should be able to see the bullet in that photograph. Or is he just pointing at something saying that's the unspent shell? And because it's laying at a bunch of leaves, you know, Rick Allen's not looking closely. You know, he's seeing the foot of a dead little girl in the photograph. He's probably not wanting to put his nose to it. But at the same time, who told Barbara McDonald that they had to go back and secure the scene? And would she go on national TV and lie about that when we know for a fact they were communicating with her details about the crime scene? So wouldn't they, is it too far of a reach to think that they would have told her, yeah, we had to go back and scour and look for a bullet? Well, what made you do that? And why is there no mention of a bullet, searching for a bullet or a type of round of bullet in the Ron Logan search warrant? So back to how we got here. I was going back through Court TV's videos, just scrounging for stuff. And I came across a video, again, of Barbara McDonald talking about the exhibits. And I presented it to Quester and I said, listen to this. And for me, I was talking about the timestamps that they were talking about on the show in correlation with these exhibits. Then, I don't know, about an hour later, Quester comes up with a holy shit. Look at this. So, Quester, I'm going to let you explain it. You might be muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it was one of those moments. I was looking at it and thinking, is there anything wrong with this picture? And I noticed, if you take the picture up in the top left, under the 2 of 2017, look closely there. You can see what looks like a vehicle parked by the side of the road. Initially, I thought it was moving. However, I then looked at another still, which is the one that's below, and you can gauge out that that vehicle has not moved. It's parked. So at the time they're saying that Richard Allen was driving by, there was another black car parked on that road. It looks like an SUV, but then what can you say at this sort of range? I also
Well,
noted that the car of Richard Allen's, if you look at it, it's not stretched. Whereas all the ones we've shown, the pictures you showed earlier, they're stretched, aren't they?
yes.
This one is not. If this is the original, then how did the original that you showed us earlier become stretched?
And I went back through, and I'll go through them again with everyone here. I went back through. Now, these images were taken from the Court TV clip. These were what Court TV showed. These images of these exhibits. I went back through my exhibits. I don't have this photograph. I don't have a photograph where you see, for example, the top left image, you see this secondary car on 300. And then over here to the right, you see another vehicle. Down here, I don't have this photograph in my exhibits. And Quester, you went through your exhibits and you don't have it either, correct?
No, I didn't. No. Never seen it before.
Indy Cindy said someone said it was Tara's Acadia. Well, no one has ever said there were two dark colored vehicles on 300 at 127.
But there they are, two of them, one going past the other.
Somebody just said that could be a red Jeep. Oh, Lord.
To be honest, yes, it could. It could be a green something. Who knows with this camera? It's far too far away to be able to tell what it is. But yes, it could be a red Jeep. It could be a black SUV. It could. Take your pick.
We don't even know. I mean, are these black vehicles? Are they smoke gray? Are they dark blue? Are they dark green? I mean, these vehicles, you can't even make out the color. Veronica, you're welcome.
According to this picture here, everybody's got a black car.
Yeah. Pertinent says, I remember it being reported, found the bullet. Can you elaborate, Pertinent? Yeah, it could even be dark red. I know that if the red Jeep that the Kleins had, that was, I think I seen pictures of it. I think it was a bright red, like a really pretty bright red.
It was, yes.
Jeep. But Keegan's grandma, Tony Klein's mother, had the PT Cruiser, a purple PT Cruiser, which that vehicle there was a vehicle like that was reported seen, which out of all of the vehicles that have been discussed, that's one that would be, I would say, the rarest in the area, a purple PT Cruiser. And to me, that's if any man who says they saw a purple PT Cruiser, for the most part, I think is going to know that it's they're not going to mistake it. You can mistake a black SUV for multiple different kinds of cars. It could be a RAV, it could be a Subaru, it could be a Ford, it could be a Blazer. I mean, it could be all kinds of things, but the shape of a PT Cruiser is really distinctive. Pertinent says that you believe a hiker found the bullet at the time?
There was a rumor that it was a hiker. There's also a rumor that a reporter found something and called it in, and that's when Ellie rushed out there.
I remember there was reports of people actually being out there that day when they came back out and re-secured the crime scene. So again, if that's what happened and they truly believe this unspent bullet was a part of this crime, why are we lying about it? Why are we only
Well,
getting go ahead.
the problem is they'd unsecured the scene. Anything found after that is almost inadmissible normally, because who knows who's walked through there. If it had been kept secure, maybe, but because they unsecured it and then they found that cartridge afterwards, it shouldn't really be evidence of anything.
I wouldn't think so, no. And Fig, yeah, Keegan Klein's alibi, his verbal alibi in his interrogation was that he was at his grandparents' house. But also in that interrogation, they verified that that was not true. He was down the street off of what, Paul Pike, actually at his cousin Travis Trexler's house, where his phone sat and somebody was viewing pornography on the phone.
That's correct, yes.
So he lied about where he was that day. And well, he lied about a lot of things. Let me see here. Let me answer some questions. Veronica said, what's sad is that the local talk from the beginning is ignored only because times, events, so much changed when Alan got arrested. It's weird. It shouldn't have changed. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think that was my whole intent of going back to the very beginning of this case, because I believe the answers are really right here on the 13th. I mean, obviously they are, but what we can align up on this day and who was where is going to provide the answers eventually, hopefully. Not saying I'm going to solve the case, but if we're going to discuss the case, let's discuss it. Let's be realistic and discuss the facts and take what facts we do know and take the things that we know now are not even possible and just get rid of them. Stop wasting our time on them and focus on, what we do have that's going to make or break, say, something in a retrial. And this camera footage is definitely an issue. The timing on it is definitely an issue. And if what these photos right here shows that we've got two dark cars at the same exact time. And the other thing I wanted to point out too is how, when you're dealing with, I'm sorry, but people don't want to believe law enforcement is corrupt. Most normal people believe they should be trusted, they can be trusted. This department and this prosecutor has showed us time and time again how dirty they're willing to play. And how convenient is it that we have a stated timestamp, not an actual footage timestamp, at 1:27 that perfectly aligns with a photo at 1:26 on a bench on the trail. So law enforcement could prove that these girls were where they were at 1:26. Now we need to put our suspect parking his vehicle in a time frame that allows him to park, walk up the road, and meet the girls head on, leaving the trail. I just find that all very convenient. So do you, Quester, do you want to add anything else about these images, or does anybody in chat have any questions about this before we move on?
Well, it absolutely amazes me that these pictures were even allowed to be used in court. It's a rule of law that if you've got something like this, you must have some kind of irrefutable supporting evidence to put that time on it. You can't just say, well, Bob says he was there and Bob was on there, so that makes it true. No, you must have something irrefutable to time it by, and nothing like that was given. It was just picked out of the air.
Right. And I mean, I would have expected to see law enforcement test the camera on site when they realize when whatever first of all, whatever led them to believe the camera time was off to begin with, number one. Number two, what type of work was done to prove the exact time that it was off? And how did they prove it? Did they have an officer show up at the Hoosier Harvester and another officer drive in front of the camera and use a stopwatch to say, okay, well, we know we just passed the camera at this time, but
do you recall when they actually declared these times were out?
No, because we really didn't hear about any of this until after Rick Allen was arrested. And like I said, they never asked for the driver or the owner of a dark color vehicle. And it appears they should have been asking for multiple owners of two vehicles at 127. And they didn't do that. I've yet to go back and find exactly where they came out with this and when the defense agreed to allow them to make these claims.
Well, I've looked at the agreements that were made, and I can't find it mentioned in it. But with these photographs, it's pretty certain that if they were saved on a local computer. And one of the problems with that is those records of photographs can creep. The time can go out. So you start right away with that.
Well, I think
that's an interesting thing that EI said.
Yeah, that the FBI said that it was 1300, which would be 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just think it's, like the picture says, it's just more BS. It's more unexplained BS. And, we're being drug around the merry-go-round, but no one's telling us why. Like, why can't we get definitive answers? This is our right as the public to know. I mean, courts, trials they're public affairs. And there's so much being hidden. And I think it's for reasons exactly like this on the screen that we're not getting more. Because once we get our hands on it and we start picking it apart and going over it with a fine-tooth comb, more and more issues are going to come out about what was done nefariously to convict this man. And whether you believe Rick Allen is innocent or guilty does not matter at this juncture. He did not have a fair trial. His civil rights were violated, and the behavior of law enforcement and the prosecutor was absolutely on many levels unethical. And yes, Jerome, this does remind me of Making a Murderer. Absolutely. I never thought I would see a case full of this much nefarious shenanigans or anything comparable to Making a Murderer, but I do believe the Delphi case has topped it. So next, exactly, 2 ears, 1 mouth, 2 ears, 1 mouth. That's exactly, it didn't fit their narrative. And when they're looking for a suspect to line up with these girls who claimed they saw a man, not one of them described Rick Allen, not one. But if they wanted to pass off a suspect of arriving and being that individual that they passed, timestamp needed to be about 127, didn't it? Because they could tell you for a fact the girls were sitting at that bench taking a photo at 126. It's like, it's kind of like bookends.
Of course, that relies on their phone having the right time, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. And I do want to bring up I have hypothesis video from last night in regards to well, actually his last two, her, I'm not sure. Are you going to tell us? Can I call you a he or a she? Because I'm not sure. But two things. The fact that you I actually did in my other and I didn't use it and I should have. Um the images that are in the exhibits of Bree Wilbur's photographs. I had almost a heart attack, number one, looking at the timestamps of 11:30 something. And I was talked off the ledge about that. But the fact that one Bree Wilbur is wearing the same exact sweatshirt that Abby was found in, but the photograph you did point out had been washed and you couldn't see the coloring on it. I was like, that's a good, that isn't that,
That's a good pickup. Yes.
yes, number one. And then number two, Bree Wilbur appeared to be taking photographs with her camera, not her phone. So that's interesting. Where are all of those photographs from that day on the trail?
And straight off, those photographs, the timestamps on them are worthless.
Yeah, because we have no idea.
Yeah.
Just gonna catch up on the chat. Yeah, exactly, Indy Cindy. That's what I'm really fearful of. And who just said that? Jackie Johnson just hit the nail on the head. He said, Rick needs lots of help at this point. Yes, he does. And every single day that the discovery is sitting in the hands of the state, we have no idea what is going to come up missing. That is why it was really important for the post-convict, at least outside attorneys working for Rick would have been able to get their hands on all of the discovery, at least to get it organized for safekeeping and to start the post-conviction investigation. Otherwise, it's sitting there with God knows what is being done with it. Pieces here, pieces there come up missing. I mean, you just don't, you can't trust it. You can't trust any of this. So let's move on to the next. So last week we had intended, let me get us to the right slide here. So, oh, thank you, Michael. Michael says not just the discovery, but actual evidence, some of which has never been disclosed. Exactly. It's imperative. It is absolutely imperative that this gets started now. That discovery and all of that information needs to be in the hands of somebody who is working for Rick. Now, not 2 years from now. Thank you, Pertinent. So we are going, I'm going to let Quester explain this. And I'm not a tech person or a math person. The two things that probably in this world, in this day and age, you need to be. I'm a visual person and I still have to use paper and pen. I have to write everything down and then read it. I took some courses in college that, how to train your brain to hold on to information. And that's just still how I do it to this day. So these kind of charts, I'm going to let Quester explain. And if you have any questions, ask them, and I'll see to it that he gets them answered. This is complex, but it also really changes the dynamics of this timeline. If what this chart depicts. This is regarding Betsy Blair's Fitbit, the timing of the cameras, the timing of other witnesses, etc. And I'm going to let him just take it away. So you go right ahead, Chester. You're welcome. And I hope you guys can all see that. And I will post this diagram. I will post this for you guys on the community page and in my Facebook group.
Okay. Everything above the line is the state's case. It includes the times they say Betsy Blair was at certain times, the door cam times, and it flows through. And looking at it, it fits neatly. You can see why it's so easy to push it through the trial. Everything below the line is based upon Betsy Blair's Fitbit times, which are far more reliable than a random store camera, and on other witnesses, some of which were not even mentioned before, during, or after the trial. Now, if we start off right on the left, above the line, first thing we see is 2 minutes past 12. The store cam is said to have seen Betsy Blair's car going east. Seems okay. However, if you now look below the line, you see 2 minutes before that, Betsy Blair's Fitbit was saying she was active. She was walking. I don't know if many of you go for a walk in your car. I don't. Yeah. It's quite clear. Sorry. So 2 minutes before the car arrived at the store camera, Betsy was already at Mears and had got out the car and had started to walk. So we know right away that store cam is wrong. But that's only a couple of minutes. You can sort of forgive it, I suppose. But it gets worse. We then move on. We see at 1:15, according to the cam, Betsy left and drove past the store. 13:15. However, if you now go down below the line on the orange bit, it says at 1 o'clock, Betsy's Fitbit went inactive. She'd stopped walking. 15 minutes before her car appeared. Now remember, this is because she was desperate to go for a rest break. She was bursting, so she'd stopped her walk to go to the library for a wee. If you were that bursting, would you sit in your car for 15 minutes doing nothing? Doubt it. So we have another one. Now we are 15 minutes difference between the Fitbit and the store cam. Not just 2. And 15 minutes is important. The journey to the library is about 8 minutes. Therefore, by the Fitbit, we would be saying that Betsy got to the library about 13:08. Now, if we go above the line again, you can see, according to the state case, Betsy would have got there about 13:23. Again, 15 minutes difference. And then at 13:26, Rayleigh took the picture of a bench and saw this man who's supposed to be Richard Allen. So that puts her 13:27. She was there. If we go down below again, say if I'm going too fast, at 13:20, Betsy Blair was leaving the library. We can assume that because it's an 8-minute journey. And we know that Betsy Blair, her Fitbit, went live again. This time, if we look down, we can see it went at 13:30. It went active. Prior to that, Betsy said that she saw these 4 girls crossing the bridge. And that had to occur between 13:20 and 13:30. It's approximately halfway in the journey, so we can say it was around 13:25, according to the Fitbit times, that Betsy saw those 4 girls. But then if you look at the above the line, we have a massive problem. She's supposed to have seen those girls at 13:42, according to the state case. But the time space is getting wider and wider and wider. Is Betsy's Fitbit wrong? Well, probably not, because we also have Brian Maas, who arrived about 13:30 and parked on the Delphi side of Freedom Bridge. And he, excuse me, and he saw the girls on the bridge as well. But sadly for the state, his sighting ties in with the Fitbit, not the state.
So let's see if we have, let's stop right there at Brian Maas. Let's see if we have any questions. Thank you, Michelle, for the memberships. You are always so gracious. Thank you so much. Now, let me pop over here. I will let you discuss Brian Maas and who he is, because I'm sure that's a name that a lot of people are not familiar with. Once again, somebody who was long forgotten about, who was also on the trails. Do you want me to read this, or do you want to read it, Quester?
No, I'm happy for you to read it. You've got a better reading voice than I have.
Okay. So Doug Rice, if you guys don't know, he was somebody who was a local and investigated the case quite a bit back then. So he says he talked to the 16-year-old witness several times. He mentions where, now remember, 16-year-old witness. This is based on what Doug Rice was boots on the ground. He's passed away. I'm slowly but surely compiling all of his information. I have some really great people emailing me snippets of the, I'm trying to put it all in order. But he mentions, first of all, 16-year-old witness several times. 16-year-old witness, he mentions where the white truck originated from. Well, first of all, where is our 16-year-old male witness? I have found all the photos and screenshots. There was a gentleman named Brian Maas who allegedly parked his white truck by Freedom Bridge around 1:30 on the 13th. He was allegedly seen by the 16-year-old right before BG heading towards the Monon High Bridge. Brian Maas was one of the people listed in the video that the Inquisitor took down that investigators contacted him about in June of 2022. So according to Doug Rice, investigators contacted the Inquisitor. So if I know the Inquisitor is still somewhat around, if he was contacted by law enforcement and was asked to take down a video, could he share more about that? Brian Maas's connection, I don't know, but I think it's interesting. I've included screenshots so you can read more about it. My buddy saw a white truck at the Freedom Bridge on the 13th around 1:30. This fellow has a white truck, and a deputy told my friend the white truck belonged to man with the dog. I also showed this pic to the witness. She was not positive. Okay, so let me correct myself because now the 16-year-old is now being called a female, apparently. So it must have been a girl, not a boy. But thought it was likely him as well. But without talking to him directly, I cannot prove it was him, just pretty sure it was. At any rate, she saw this man and his dog on the trails shortly before they ran into BG. Here at the bottom is what Brian Moss looks like with his dog. So, bumping over here to the right part of the screen, I need to remove my logo. Hang on one second. Okay. Sorry about that. I needed to remove it so I can read. Okay, there's a lot of misinformation here. I'll tell you what Doug Rice, they call him, I think it's Bitter Beat Poets, version of this was. I have screenshots from Freedom Bridge that I will try to find and link to later. Disclaimer, I am not weighing in on one way or another as to whether Doug Rice was correct, just passing on what he said on Facebook years ago. The guy in the picture walked his dog at the trail area frequently and was there the day the girls were there. The 16-year-old girl who, according to Doug Rice, was one of the witnesses who saw BG, saw the dog walker near Freedom Bridge. Apparently, he parked in the parking lot near there. The 16-year-old girl saw him heading towards the Monon High Bridge. This was a few minutes before she saw BG, who, as you will recall, was also heading towards Monon High Bridge. So BG would have been on the same trail as the dog walker and would have been behind him. It seems quite possible that the dog walker may have seen BG when he, dog walker, was heading back to his car at the parking lot. But that is speculation. Doug Rice tried to contact the dog walker, but he was not interested in speaking to anyone. He did speak to the police and presumably told them whatever he saw, if he saw anything. Not much else is known about him. So that is who Brian Moss is. And let's see if we have any questions. Well, that's the problem, Jamie. Rick doesn't claim that he's seen anybody walking a dog, but Rick also claims he wasn't there at 1:30. He was leaving around that time. And we have actually 2 people on the trails this day walking their dog in between 1:30 and 2:30. We have Brian Moss with his dog, and we have David Riley with his dog. So let's go back. Do we have any questions about the Fitbit data so far? Radar, one of them did make a statement. I've got it somewhere. That they did see a man walking a dog. And that's what really put me on the trail of David Riley, because his whole little alibi and timing is a little sketchy too. He's got a receipt for a vet visit that only lasted supposedly 5 minutes. And he's on the trail the same time Abby and Libby are supposed to be on the trail, yet we're going to get into all of these people who were actually on the trail that day at this time. But right now, so Quester doesn't get off because he's on a roll here with this Fitbit data. So
Okay.
Yep, let me go back to your chart.
Right.
Okay.
Well, first of all, it was Riley Voorhees that confirmed that she saw the dog walker.
Okay.
So that places him exactly where you said. The other thing is we had Daniel Pearson. He arrived round about or just before 1:30, and he said he saw the dog walker as well. So we've got a nice line of people seeing this dog walker, and all these times are fitting in perfectly with Betsy Blair's Fitbit. So we're getting an awful lot of confirmation that that Fitbit is actually the correct time, which then means the cam times are not. Right. I go back to the chart. We can see that at 13:30, Betsy Blair's Fitbit said she was active again. That would be the time that she got back to Mears and got out of her car. Now we have at above the line, you see on the top right, 13:46. The cam store allegedly saw her car going past. Massive time difference yet again. We can work out Betsy's movements by knowing the distances. We know it is an 8-minute walk from Mears Lot to the Monnon Bridge. We know that Betsy started walking at 13:38. That means she would have been, no, not 38, 13:30, sorry. That means that she would have reached the Monnon Bridge at 13:38. Now, if you recall, she said when she got there, she saw the man. She said she saw a young man, in fact, and gave quite a good description and did a sketch for him. That was at 13:38. She then turned round and walked back halfway, which would be a 4-minute walk. Therefore, at 13:42, she saw 2 girls. Now, the little help from Ellie, she managed to decide that it was Abby and Libby she saw. She didn't think that until they'd had her in for another interview, of course. But this puts the girls 4 minutes away from the bridge at 13:42. 4 minutes to the bridge, 13:46. The young man was still on the bridge because nobody saw him coming back. The first thing we know, according to Ellie, is the photograph of the bridge, supposedly by Libby, which was, I believe, at 14:02. It took them 14 minutes to walk a 4-minute journey, if we are to believe the Ellie story. Sorry, I don't believe it. But anyway, if we move away from Abby and Libby for the moment and follow Betsy Blair, we know from seeing those girls, it would have taken her 4 minutes to get back to the Mears Lot. So that means she should have arrived at 13:46 to get into her car to leave. But she didn't. She was active until 1400, 2 o'clock. Another 14 minutes. Now it has been said that she took a short trip down to see the Mary Gerard Reserve. That would fit in perfectly. If she'd have turned left, gone down there, had a quick look, come back up, it would have timed her perfectly to arrive at Mears at 1400. She would have got in her car and left. But if you look above the line, we have, let's see, her car was seen on the store cam at 14:18. We've now got an 18-minute difference. So you can see these things are just not tying up with the state times. And we know that below the line is evidenced. We know that above the line is Mullen's presumed times. In green on the right, there's a little strange occurrence. If we were to follow the times that Mullen came up with, we would have had Betsy Blair and Kelsey's cars both at Mearslot at the same time. Yet Betsy Blair denies seeing any other vehicles. If all the information below the line is correct, that can be explained that Betsy Blair would not have seen Kelsey German's car because she arrived before it and left after it. It would also allow for Kelsey to have seen a dark SUV that Betsy Blair did not. Well, give you a few moments to consider what's on there. And Amy, if you've got anything you'd like to ask about it?
No, I'm going to check with the chat and see if we have any questions. And that is, it's been, I know it's been up for debate about Kelsey claiming that she saw a dark colored SUV with the Salt Life sticker on it. We know that is absolutely a fact because right here we have a post from Jerry Holman. Kelsey saw a dark colored SUV or truck, not a car, with a Salt Life decal. Sergeant Holman's response regarding the dark SUV with window decals recently mentioned in Kelsey's interview. So, Jerry Holman, thank you for the information. We have already identified the vehicle and do not need any additional information about the vehicle. Thanks again. You guys never cease to amaze me. The SUV, we have known about it from day one.
The you guys never cease to amaze me, I believe, was Becky.
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, not Jerry. This comment is from Becky. Yes. You guys never cease to amaze me. The SUV, we have known about it from day one. Law enforcement has known about it from day one. We drove through the parking lots for weeks trying to find this vehicle. No, we never mentioned it because we didn't know where it played out in the case. In time, once we knew, I knew we couldn't say anything because I knew how you people would react to new story. Kelsey did tell about it. You did exactly what I thought you would do. Instead of taking the new info, you led it to, again, bash. As far as I'm concerned, we will never give you more. Kelsey was not making anything up. She gave you more information. So they didn't ever state who they identified the owner of the car to be. And I do not recall, I guess I should have looked that up before today, about what vehicle Betsy Blair claimed that she was driving.
No, all I've got is that it was a dark vehicle.
And then, I've talked to some people who believe that the Salt Life sticker decal on the dark SUV was not Betsy Blair's at all. It belonged to someone else. And I'm still digging into that before I say any names. But I will say that the information about that dark SUV came from an interview with Cheyenne. She identified who the SUV belonged to, but I want to work on that and prove it.
Well, I must admit, it would be somewhat unusual for a lady of Betsy's age to have a Salt Life sticker in her window.
I was going to say that too.
And the person you are thinking of, that it would fit perfectly for that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speak for those who can't. Yes, I do believe that Betsy had a dark SUV, but I don't know what kind it was, and She was never asked. She was never asked, did she have a Salt Life sticker on it?
Bizarre.
Yeah. I mean, to me, a Salt Life sticker would mean a young person, and it would mean probably a vehicle that's an older model. Maybe it was a bought used vehicle that with already the sticker on it, or they had traveled somewhere, or they lived prior by, I would say, a beach area or something.
I'd agree with that. Yes.
Unicorn. You said the owner of the SUV with stickers on the back initials are JC.
I don't know.
That's not who I have. Email me. I would like to know who.
All right.
Michael Osbrook, if you're in here, how old is Betsy Blair? So litigation examiner says that the stickers are common. Yeah, JC are not the initials of the person that I've had. And that's why I'm not even saying that person's name, because I need more information. Salt Life, I mean, it's really kind of like I always took it as a beachy type sticker. And I don't know in Indiana how common. I don't know how common they are. My personal opinion would be that it would be more of a younger person. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess older people would probably put stickers. Yeah, J Rabbit, that's a good point. Snowbirds have them. Yeah, I mean, if they live in Indiana and they go to, well, Betsy Blair was in Indiana in February, so I wouldn't count. Maybe she's not a snowbird. My opinion on Betsy Blair and her credibility, I've never even seen a picture of her. I don't know how old she is. I do believe that she's a little older, not like an old woman, but I tend to respect her. I guess her as a witness, simply because she did not allow the state to get away with not discussing the white comet that she claimed that she saw. That's why the defense had to recall her. And she didn't fall in line with changing. What's odd to me about Betsy, I think she's trustworthy, but the one thing that does stand out that's odd to me is her description of Bridge Guy, the facial description, versus then her claiming that when she saw the Bridge Guy photo after the girls were found, she agreed that that was the person that she saw. And I don't know about you guys, but to me, the body structure, the movement of Bridge Guy is an older man. Unless the way if he's just overdressed and wearing really oversized clothes, I mean, I would have thought that Bridge Guy wasn't, I would say at least in his mid 30s to mid 40s, at least, not a 20-something-year-old. But she kind of went both ways on that.
Well, it was Betsy who produced the young man sketch, which makes it absolutely incredible that then in trial she said something totally different. There's no way that young man sketch was that person on that bridge.
I don't think so. I don't think it was the same person. That doesn't mean that Betsy didn't see a younger person, but who is the younger person? And wouldn't, if BG came from the north end of the trail system, from the north end of the bridge, wouldn't he have had to have seen Bridge Guy?
He would have had to, unless he found another way to leave that area. For instance, going into the woods.
Going it right.
Why then would he do that?
Right. And you know, Betsy was walking. Osbrook, how old is Betsy Blair? Do you know? Or a rough estimate? Well, that's why we're going over this timeline, because there's really a lot of people out on the trails that day, and it makes no sense why we don't have a clear cut timeline of when those people were there. What were they doing what were they doing before they arrested Rick Allen? Was none of this worth investigating? And it's really frustrating because we're having to piece together things that, you're trying to put together what makes sense. And some of it, that's why you have to go back to the very beginning, because everything that was said in the beginning, everyone's memory was more, the recollection was there. You're dealing with people who are commenting in these groups that live in the area. They're talking to people. Yeah, women doing false memories. What happened to women? You're not doing chaos no more. What the hell? Yeah, a meth lab. Yes, she did. Christina, Anna Williams did say that in an interview. That BG had been cleared. I actually have that clip. I think I'll load it for our next live.
Yes, I've got it too. They definitely said that.
Yep.
And they said they were not interested in him anymore.
Yep. Radar said we found 50 plus people that were at or near the Monon High Bridge on the 13th. Mm-hmm.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Kayla says everyone is there except Abby and Libby. It's, I mean,
that's
True
another
crime.
story.
Welcome back, true crime fangirl. Glad you're feeling better. So do we want to get back to the Fitbit data? Is there any more to it that you want to discuss?
Not unless there's anything you'd like to question or delve into.
Well, I think I think in the next slide, I explained. I tried. I really don't. I don't put a lot of stock in the four girls earlier that day, seeing who they saw, simply because it's really irrelevant when you get up to the actual bridge and the girls' arrival. And the amount of people that we have in between the Mears lot and the Monon High Bridge is incredible. And it just further boosts my opinion that the bridge guy came from the south end of the bridge. None of these people ran into him. That's why, to me, all of this just reinforces that concept that he came from the south end of the bridge. Nobody's seen him because he wasn't over there on the north side.
I agree.
And so we went through that. These are, and I didn't list under testified here, the four girls, because as far as that goes, The four girls and who they saw, their witness statements to me don't align with Rick Allen. And we're here because we don't believe that Rick Allen is the guy. I'm talking about the people who were supposed to be up by the Monon Trail or by the entry to the bridge. We've got Betsy Blair, we've got David McCain, we've got Cheyenne, and then we're supposed to have Abby and Libby. But where is BG? David McCain didn't see him. Cheyenne didn't say she saw him. But we know what was never discussed at trial were Daniel Pearson, Shelby Hicks. Shelby Duncan was discussed by Cheyenne on the stand, but why wasn't Shelby Duncan put on the stand? We've got A. Bridge, Kay Harper, who was reportedly out there. I have confirmed that Harper was there. We've got Carl Abbott, and now we've got David Riley and Brian Moss, who are walking their dogs. Plus, we've got the three girls. You know, the three girls that were never spoken to by law enforcement who left to go over to the city park to play basketball. Then you've got this nefarious group over here on the right that, based on statements and rumors and a photograph of a white vehicle with paper plates taken by Tina Rodell, we have screenshotted messages that I've shown in prior Vault episodes between her and her daughter, phone calls made at 2:00 in the morning, in the early morning hours of February 13th. All of these people were supposed to still be out there on the trails that day. Keegan Callis, Tyler Joe French, Megan Allen, who is Tina Rodell's daughter, TJ Cook, Travis Janicki, Skylar Ebenhoff, Cheryl Loeffler, and Brent Hicks. Cheryl Loeffler, it was stated by Tina Rodell that not only was Shelby Duncan with Cheyenne, but Cheryl Loeffler was also with Cheyenne. And if that is true, why would Cheyenne, well, first of all, it's my understanding that Cheyenne's changed her story multiple times. She's changed her timeline multiple times. But why would she leave out individuals that she was with? We don't know, Callie, who, if any of these people knew KK. Well, there's lots of points of access to the trails, but there's only one north end of the bridge. That's the problem. And when you've got Daniel Pearson, who was already out there with Shelby Hicks, then you've got Dan McCain, all in between Mears and the bridge, the north end of the bridge. Even if BG would have entered, so there's that path. If you're walking up towards the bridge on the left-hand side, there's a path that you can take that takes you off the trail to the left, that takes you all the way around into the woods, which could take you all the way up to the cemetery. Even if somebody entered the trail from that path, say they came from the cemetery or they came from out at 300 or even Ron Logan's property, somebody would have still seen this man based on the times that the girls started taking photographs on the bridge. Dan McCain never said he even saw Abby and Libby. And if you take the state's timeline, let me see, 149, you got the girls out there on the bridge for about 24 minutes, 25 minutes at the most before they were taken down the hill, if you believe the state's timeline. So nobody in almost a half hour, all of these people who are reportedly out there walking their dog, walking with their friends, Daniel Pearson's out there cheating on his other girlfriend, all of these people arriving and no one's seen Abby and Libby during the timeline that the state provided. Yeah, that's what I've always said. Even if it wasn't, I'm not. That's one thing that I don't want. I will not do in this case is commit to a theory or a suspect without having more information. I mean, I do believe that we have categories of suspects and categories of possibilities. And I'll be honest, the more I dig and the more I get into this, the further away Brad Holder gets for me. Now, I haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet. I can't because I can't get past all of this. And every single week that we continue to dive into this, we keep coming up with new things like, wow, now that changes this or that changes that. So I personally don't want to commit to a Ron Logan is the BG guy. I know I had Reese Davis on. I wanted to put light on that simply because it's very likely that down the road, the state's going to try to squash him out of the equation and what he was told. So I wanted to get his story accurately reported directly from him to the public. And also, it puts a spotlight on him and keeps him safe. But I personally will not commit. And I can't get past this group of people, this Tyler French group, who his stepfather lived less than a mile from the Monon High Bridge. They were supposed to be out there camping on the 12th. They were supposed to have beaten the holy mess out of Megan Allen out there as an initiation for Odinists, the Brotherhood of the Sons of Odin. And there were supposed to be a lot of drugs being done out there. And if they were up all night running amok, they were doing things under the bridge, in the woods. We just don't know why they've never been put more in the forefront of this case. If they're innocent, prove it, let's move on. But it's almost like it's swept under the rug. And you got the girls on the bridge with Libby's photo being taken. Then you've got the 207, and we're going to get into the phone. The 207 mysterious Snapchat photo. And then you have the phone being unlocked at 2:08 for the last time, physically unlocked with the thumbprint. At 2:08, we also have Ron Logan's phone pinging near the bridge. At 2:08, we also have a white vehicle on the private drive seen on the Sandiford camera going in towards the bridge. It's gone for about a minute. It's traveling at a very fast rate going into the bridge, in towards the bridge, a lot faster than what it is returning. Did someone make a phone call? Did they drop someone off? Was the young guy standing on platform 1 that Betsy saw, was that an informant or a lookout for what was taking place around the bridge? And then this person got sidetracked or just occupied and accidentally let Abby and Libby slip onto the bridge to where a phone call was made saying, Houston, we have a problem. We've got girls crossing the bridge. They're going to see you guys. And then this car comes flying in. I don't know. These are scenarios that go through my brain. But the 2:08 is significant. And to me, still anything is possible with this case. No, Bridge Guy is not. I don't believe that Bridge Guy is RA either. And I wish Kathy Allen would step up and speak out and help us help her husband. If we had pictures of Rick Allen from February 26 or 2017, very close to that time frame, I believe that Rick was much thinner at the time in 2017 than he even was during his interrogations. I think he was much slimmer, which would make him appear much smaller than Bridge Guy. Much smaller. And there's other things that Kathy could help us do. If Kathy could get into her husband's email accounts, still, she could go back and see if there was any emails sent on February 13th and what time. Does Kathy Allen still have her 2017 phone? Did her and Rick communicate that day at all? Text messages, phone calls. Babe, I'm home. Just got back from the bridge. I'm going to get on the computer and look at my stocks. Did they have a house phone? Did anybody call the house phone? Did any call get made from a house phone? What about going into the
Records of
bill?
his, yeah,
Huh?
records of his stock ticker.
Stock ticker, signing in and out of the account. I mean, even
Yeah.
if, I mean, I don't, did he make any trades that day? There's so many things that Kathy Allen could actually get her hands on to help him. And I think that, you know, she needs to stop being afraid. She needs to stop being afraid because nothing's going to change about what we're doing. Nothing's going to change about where this case is heading. And does she really want to go through this again and him not overturn his conviction? Help us fight for him. That's all. I mean, she needs to help us fight. And there's things that she can do to do that. She can walk into her bank and say, I need my bank statement from February 2017. I need to see what my husband's bank card did that day. Did he stop and get gas? Did he stop and buy a pop? Did he stop and buy beer? Jesus, I mean, let's just put it all on the table. These are things that we could use to help him. So I'm Kathy, please come out. Please speak. And I think everything else in my presentation is for next time around. Then I can take that off. So if there's anybody who's listening that speaks or communicates with Kathy, I just really think that it's time that she reach out. I really do. And she doesn't have to come on a live. She doesn't have to come out and speak publicly at the moment, although I think that she needs to get her footing with that, because I think that she's in for a long road. She's in for a long fight. And I think that she needs to just realize that people need to hear from her. People would like to learn more about Rick. I mean, we are all supporting this man blindly because we don't really know anything about him other than he was a normal, decent guy who was caught up in this case and accused of a horrific crime that, you know, we have yet to see proof that he did. And if all of that has been done, I mean, out of all of those things that I just listed, you mean to tell me there's not one single iota of documentation that proves he was on his phone at a certain time? If he's on his phone between 2 and 4, he's not killing 2 little girls. He's not walking down 300 muddy and bloody. If he's sending an email or answering a phone call at the house, or he's made a phone call to his wife, or he stopped and used his credit, even using, if he stopped on his way from his mother's into Delphi and stopped and got gas, that would solidify at least part of his timeline. We've seen none of that. Yeah, I'm not judging her. And I mean, gee, Monique, could you imagine this happening to your life? Could you imagine, you know, the I mean, on the forefront of it, when Rick's name was first put in the public, I can't even imagine the messages and the bashing and the cruelty that woman experienced. So I'm not judging her for being fearful. I'm asking her to fight back. I'm asking her to stand up because everybody that believes in her husband would support her and do our best to protect her. But we spend hours upon hours upon hours working behind the scenes to help him. And 2 or 3 tidbit pieces of information could really swing the pendulum for her and for him. This exactly, Radar. This was a nightmare. And I can't even imagine. And a normal person who really, here we're all true crime junkies. I mean, we love this kind of stuff. We love court cases. Somebody who's not into this stuff, who doesn't understand it, I can't imagine the chaos that her life was thrown into. Hi, all eyes. And no, he did not. You're right. 2 ears and 1 mouth. Rick did not say he was watching a stock ticker on the trails. He said he had a stock app on his phone, and that might have been why he went home, because he can't use it if he doesn't have a signal. He does say that in his interview. Yeah, we're taking the man whose phone wasn't in the geofencing. This is the same man who was seen walking by 4 girls, and then somebody, Betsy Blair, saw. He had his, Wester pointed out, the BG had his hands in his pockets every single time he was reported to be seen. How is he on his phone? But he's the only guy that's not in the geofence. He's the only guy who's got his hands in his pocket. He's the only person that wasn't in the geofence, and no DNA belonged to him at the crime scene. Yet he's the guy. Yeah, that's why the geofencing wasn't used, because the prosecution didn't like it. So, Quester, do you what are your thoughts on what we should focus on next time around? And next week we'll have to do Monday, because Sunday is my daughter's baby shower. Lord help me.
I think next we really need to look at the phone times, the pings, what it did, what it didn't do, and examine that.
Okay.
There's a massive amount of questions in there.
There is. And I just seen something really quick that I want to clarify. Yes, Luke, Grandma Amy. Oh my, I really tried to think of a fancy grandma name. There just isn't one. So this is my second grandchild. My oldest daughter had her first baby last year, and we canceled our vacation because of her due date, so I could help her. And we ended up booking this year's vacation last year, because I had to request vacation at work. And lo and behold, my youngest is now due 2 weeks before our vacation, and I can't cancel it this time. I'm like, please go just a little early. So I have a granddaughter, and my youngest is having a little boy. So I'll have one of each. Then they need to stop for no more babies, because first of all, this stuff is so expensive. And my whole dining room and living room right now it looks like Babies R Us. So I'll be glad when it's over, and I hope it is amazing for her, but I'll be glad when all of this stuff is out. But I did just see a statement on here where someone had said, when did McCain say he saw DP arguing under the bridge compared to BB seeing him? So Callie, I have verified that Derek German did clarify that that Dan McCain never said under the bridge. He said down at the bridge. Becky Patty is the one who kind of contorted that verbiage. So from my understanding, Dan McCain did not say there was anybody under the bridge. And Derek German confirmed that. So next week we will get into the phone. I've got a lot of work. I've got a lot of work already done on that. And thank you, Jamie. The phone is complicated, especially we're kind of operating a little blind as far as the data goes. There are things that we do know that I need to clarify if we can speak on. And what I do want to do also next week is I'm going to attempt to take the white car on the private drive and do still shots of it. Try to do it frame by frame by frame, and and see if we can get some suggestions on the at least the body style. It's so far away. I feel like it's a bigger car. Thank you. Speak for those who can't. So if we work, is there any, hey guys in the chat, do you guys have any suggestions? If we're going to work on radar, Nana Ames. Actually, I'm kind of embarrassed to say it, but so I wanted my grandma name to be Amie, because that's what my girls called me when they were little girls, when they were kids. They'd say, "Okay, Amie," because the way my name is spelled. They would do it jokingly instead of calling me mom. But then my oldest didn't like that. She wanted me to take my mom's grandma name that my kids use. My mom's passed away, but my kids miss her every day. They still have, they have recordings of her voicemail on her cell phone. And from time to time, my girls will send it to me. They have some videos of my mom dancing in my living room, because my mom lived with me for 12 years before she passed away. So my girls wanted me to take my mom's grandma name, which is Meemaw. And I'm like, okay, I'll be Meemaw, I guess, but it's not, it makes me feel really old. So do you guys in the chats, do you guys have any suggestions or requests some things that we can throw in along with going over the phone next week? Feel free to drop them in. Werecat, you're fired. I'm taking the wrench. You fell asleep. I'm taking the wrench. Radar, it's Lynn. So do Mimi. I know Mimi's cute too. Amma, that's a cute name too. Amma's cute. So Jackie says, let's talk about Rick's movements and the times. Well, I would love to. That's why I'm putting up the bat signal for Kathy to help us track his movements. Even someone in his, even the family members who went to breakfast or lunch that day that he didn't want to go. Where did it doesn't matter where they ate, but what time can they look at their bank statements and see what time they paid the bill? What time they can say, okay, yeah, Rick left. What route did Rick take from his mom's back to Delphi? That was something that Quester was looking at. Did he pass the camera more than once that day? Do you want to talk about that real quick, Quester, what you worked out with that?
I can do.
Yeah.
Quite happy to, yes. What, you mean now or?
Now, yeah, go ahead. You can talk about it now.
Right. Well, it would appear there's only 3 logical routes. none of which take you anywhere near that that camera. The fastest and easiest one would have been down the Hoosier Highway. The next one, which would have been down through the country roads, I'll just call up that. Did I give you the picture, Amy, of that one?
Yeah. Let me see if I can grab it real quick. I can pull that up. Go ahead and keep talking. I'll pull it up.
So, right. So as I was saying, the first one was down the highway. The next most logical one would have been down to Camden and across from there along the 218 Market Street, and then turning left down to, I think it's the 100, is it, Amy? Which would have taken straight.
I think so. I always get 200, 100, 325 mixed up sometimes. I usually have to go back and look at the map. You need to stop.
Well, that one would have taken him straight to his house, almost to the junction with his road. That's a 48-minute journey. So is the Hoosier one a 48-minute one?
So it would have
The only
taken
third
him.
one. Sorry.
So you're saying you're saying if he not knowing the exact time, but from his mother's to home, it would have taken him approximately 48 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to get there to pull this up. And is there? Let me see here. Sorry, guys, I'm going to pull up a photo for you. And it just doesn't, I mean, it doesn't, like I've said before, it doesn't make any sense why even going to the trails that day, the only excuse that people have is that, oh, he went the back way, the long way to park at CPS to avoid cameras. Well,
That is a long one.
That's a very long way to go around. And prior to getting to the CPS building, he would have had many, many options to park if he was worried about being seen. He had many other areas.
If he wanted to go the way that he could avoid cameras, why would he go the way that went past the store camera?
Well, they're saying he didn't know it was there. But at the same time, why are you going that way to park like right out in the open, have to walk down the road? It would, if he was trying to get back into the trails, because the bridge guy came prepared, gun, probably multiple blades, and who else knows what else he had on him. But why park all the way out there at the front of the trails? He could have parked back by the cemetery. He could have parked.
He could have parked
honestly,
at that. Yeah, there's a parking spot right next to Wilson's Bridge. He could have pulled in there. Nobody would have even known he was there.
Okay,
So many places.
I'm trying to find this photo. Sorry. It's in here. It's just so far back. This is why the Dropbox is getting reorganized, and I don't think I'm going to be able to pull it up because my computer is running really slow. So I'll include that next time, and we can touch on it next time.
Sure.
So everybody's not sitting here waiting on me. Sorry about that, guys. So Majesta says, let's talk about the jacket. Absolutely. The jacket, the photograph was entered as an exhibit, but I don't believe that it was discussed at trial. The big Carhartt logo right there on the front, that was never, which that's a drop of the ball by the defense, if you ask me. You
I
know,
couldn't see
we've
that
looking
on
at
the
this bridge
on
guy
TV.
photo for how many years now? No. And why wasn't it discussed at trial? Like, these are not the same coats. And then not to forget that Kathy Allen actually has the receipt for that coat, and that coat wasn't made or purchased until well after the crime had happened. So now what's the state going to say? Well, you know, we had to throw the other one away because he got blood on it. So we went out and bought one exactly like it just to make sure we could prove that he had that coat. And
Well,
that's
that
not,
had to be proved.
doesn't make any sense. And, you know, and Michael Osbrook brought up a good point the other day, you know, if Kathy Allen is a receipt keeper, if she had a receipt, I think it was from 2021, dig back through. What else you got? We need some solidification to help determine Rick wasn't at the trails that day.
Well, one has to
Yeah, that
wonder
is-
how many middle-aged people who wear jeans also own a Carhartt jacket. I should
In that
think it's a
area,
rather large number.
yeah. Tammy, oh my gosh, I don't know how you do. That's a lot of grandbabies. I bet you are busy at the holidays. Jeez. Let me see, make sure we're not missing anything else. So they didn't test the box cutters, right? Didn't check Ron Logan's guns. Well, I don't know what they tested of Allen's knives. And that's a question that I've always had about Ron Logan, because there were 2 search warrants served at Logan's. The first one was to collect the guns and before his probation violation. And then like a week later, they turned around and the FBI issued another one. So were the guns that were collected in the first search warrant ever turned over? I mean, I'm sure that they were. We just don't know. So,
Well, unfortunately, we will never know now. They were returned, and I believe his son sold them in an auction. So they're
yeah,
gone.
yeah, it's my understanding that all of Ron's guns were returned to Ryan, Ron's son, before Ron Logan got out of prison. So then I was told that he sold them. And I don't know if Iva Papas is still in here. And if I don't remember if it was his video, somebody, and I can't find it, and I want it. There's one of you guys, one of you fantastic creators out there, made a video, and I feel like it's not been that long ago, and it's a compilation of the Musical.ly video that Abby and Libby did, where you can see from it, there's 3 devices in the video, the 2 phones and the iPad. If somebody knows who made that video, because I've looked and I'm like, okay, I only follow a few people, and I thought maybe Iva Papas made it, but I can't find it. Julie Melvin no longer has that whole clip, but somebody here recently created a video pointing those devices out. If you know where it is, can you please email it to me, please? I don't know why I can't find it. And I personally don't think that, I don't know if I would agree that a box cutter was used. It would have to be more of a commercial type box cutter to me. And I will say this, my opinion about the murders, I've always felt after seeing the injury on Libby, it was a frontal attack. I don't believe that she was cut from behind. I think that whoever did that reached out in front of them and slashed top to bottom because they're vertical cuts. Which again is a problem based on the amount of blood that's not there. If she's standing up, a carotid artery is going to pump massive. It is going to have, you're going to have arterial spray, but it is also going to cover the front of you. You are going to be covered down the front of you, all the way down the front of you. Tom, I'm not going to read that. I'll post it up there so everybody can get a chuckle. Trial junkie, young bridge guy. I don't think that I don't think young bridge guy is the man that we see on the video. But that doesn't mean either that he wasn't involved, that he wasn't a lookout. There was shit going on out there, and we're just going to keep digging. We're just going to keep digging. And yeah, Julie Melvin posted it. She has the compilation, but somebody just recently put it in a video where they they slow it down, and you can see that each girl has phones. That's the video that I'm talking about. Mar said it was Indy Cindy. Indy Cindy, I'll be over. Can I steal it? Can I use it?
I've got that picture. I'll have a look through my files. I think I've got that picture. I haven't got the video.
Yeah, Indy, thank you. She said I can. Yeah, she said I can use it. Thank you. Good work, by the way. When off topic, when we okay, let me see here. Wait a second, my phone, everything's freezing. Jerome asked, when can we do, Amy, sorry, it's off topic, but when we do our second videos on Ashley Garth? Well, we need to do them yesterday, actually. That's all of this stuff that I got going on with work, baby shower, the vault. And I was hoping to do a mega stream because we have all 3 filings now in her post-conviction appeal with the appellate court. And that's a massive read. And we were also waiting to get permission from the prison to be able to bring Ashley on. But if that may not be a quick answer that we get. And there might be some stipulations, like they might allow me to do it with a members only live. And her not take public questions. Indiana women's prison's a lot different than the men's prisons. Like the men's prisons, they can just add anybody to their phone, to their phone list. With the Indiana women's prison, you have to go through a process. You have to get approved, and you've got to provide documentation of who you are and all that jazz. So I do want to tell you all, why everybody's here. There is, and I don't know if Rick, I don't know what his status is in the prison. Someone will have to go on and look. But I do this for Ashley a lot. But there's a website called I Care. And you can go on there and you can do a search for an inmate. And what you'll have to do is you'll probably have to, I think you can use the name, or you might have to have his inmate number. But you put that in, and if he's available to receive items, I Care is a way that you can order him lunch. They have calzones, they have wings, they have subs, cookies, things like that. And it's not expensive. I think it cost me like $21 to send a nice lunch. And I don't know how they do it at Westville, but at the Indiana Women's Prison, they have an iMark business right there on site. So if Ashley is working or she's in a class, and she gets notified that she has a lunch that was ordered for her, she basically has to just tell them, okay, I'm ready, go ahead and make it. And they make it on site, so it's fresh and hot. I don't know if Westville does that, but either way, I thought it would be nice, if a handful of people wanted to send Rick a lunch, or even a dinner, he can, if he gets 1 or 2 a day, he can save it and heat it up in the microwave or whatever. It's got to be better than the prison food. There's that. And I just thought that would be a nice gesture for any of those out there. I'm sorry. You're right. He's not in Westville anymore. He's in Pendleton. So either way, I don't know how they do it at Pendleton, but if he, I don't know if they would allow, if he's on a certain type of restriction, I believe that he may not be eligible to get that kind of thing, but if the system will tell you. Yes, Jerome, the filings that we just had come out on Ashley's was very, very strong. I am so optimistic for her. And John Pinot did a phenomenal job in his response with the appellate court and the state. So John filed his brief, the state responded, and then John got to file his rebuttal. So now it's in the hands of the judges, and they have an unlimited amount of time. Pertinent, I don't know if they're on a no tablet lockdown at Pendleton. I know that they were on a lockdown a while back, but so I don't know. And whether they're on a tablet lockdown or not, that wouldn't change if you could order him food. So I think we've gone over everything we can do today. Quester, if I haven't said thank you for your efforts and your hard work and sharing your knowledge. It's been so helpful, and it helps me. This is just it's a lot of work, as you can see, and putting it all together. It's helpful to have somebody who can help me along the way with diagrams and things like that, and research. So I really appreciate you. And I think everybody in chat, the more they get to know you, I think they welcome your humor and your knowledge. So I wanted to say thank you from me, and probably from everyone in the chat as well. So thank you.
You're more than welcome. We have to get this information out, and we have to get it spread around. And that's exactly what you're doing. So thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks to all of my mods and all of the people who, every time I put a request out, you guys email me information. So I know that I'm slow to respond and I apologize, but at my work, we have different parts of my building. We have blocks, like I can't access internet in certain parts of the building. So if I get something in the morning, like sometimes you'll get an email from me at like 4 o'clock in the morning, because that's when I'm up from work before I leave. And then throughout the day at work, it's hit or miss. And then by the time I get home, because I work 10-hour days, I'm so exhausted. I don't always respond right away. So I apologize. There's a couple of people who just chastise me for not responding quicker, and I'll do better, I promise. So thank you guys for always being there. But thanks everybody for being here today. Please, on your way out the door, hit the like button, please hit subscribe, share the channel. Once this baby shower is over, I'll have a little bit more free time. So I'll be back to doing 2 and 3 lives a week again. I miss it. I enjoy it. But I've been doing this. This is the deepest dive I think I've ever done on a case. So bear with me, and we will see you guys next time. Have a good Sunday evening, guys. Jerome, I'll be in touch.